Hey guys, I'm the NFL Addict, and today I'll be grading every single NFL team's offseason. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe, like the video. I'm a pretty small creator, so every time someone subs, it means a lot to me. And also, by the way, they are 32 teams in the league, so I won't be able to go completely in-depth into every single one. So if you have any more questions about why I gave a team a certain grade, or you have any comments that you want to make, the comment section is open. I love to get feedback on all of my content. The Bills get a B+. I like the Mitch Trubisky trade more than a lot of people do. He's a pretty cheap backup option and not a terrible backup. A 1-year, $3 million deal is really cheap to get a quarterback like that, and it's not amazing. Also, they got Emmanuel Sanders, so another weapon for Josh Allen. So it's not amazing, but I think it's a pretty good offseason, so I give them a B+. The Dolphins are going to get an A-. They replaced Ryan Fitzpatrick with a cheaper option in Jacoby Brissett. They got a nice deep threat in Will Fuller for Tua Tagovailoa to throw to, and also the recent trade where they traded back with the 49ers. So the 49ers traded for the third-round pick, and they got I think they got 3 first-rounders for this year and the future, and then they traded up again, and they got back from the 12th pick to the 6th pick with the Eagles. I just really like how they're doing things. The Patriots get an A+ from me. They're doing an A+. You're not going to see too many teams on this list get an A+, and that's because an A+ to me is like perfect. So far, obviously, we've still got a lot more left to do, but so far, they're doing everything I really want them to do, or I think they should do. I always thought that they shouldn't spend a lot of money going out and getting a new quarterback, and then they re-signed Cam Newton to a fairly cheap deal, especially for a quarterback. And then they went out and they got Nelson Aguilar. They got Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith. They got one of the, now they have one of the better tight end duos. Nelson Aguilar. He's not. Obviously, he's not like the best wide receiver in the league, and he's definitely not even probably top 10. But he is a pretty good wide receiver, and and they're also bumping up that defense. They're doing everything that I think they should do, and the Patriots get an A+ from me. The Jets are gonna get a C-, mainly because they're not doing all that much. I mean, I know they've got the 2nd pick in the draft, but I mean, just the only thing that they've done really is gone out and got Corey Davis, and they also got Tevin Coleman for really cheap. So I like those. Corey Davis is a really good wide receiver, and Tevin Coleman's a pretty fairly good running back. So they get a C- for me, but really they need to do a lot more to turn this offseason around. The Ravens are going to get a C from me, and I mean, most of these teams I'm picking players that they've gotten during free agency to put on the picture, but I just put Lamar Jackson because they really haven't done anything, so they just get a C. They got Josh Oliver in a trade, but they need to get more weapons. They need to use this draft. They need to use the rest of free agency. They need to get a lot more weapons. I know they got Marquise Brown. I know they've got pretty good tight end there, but I just don't like it. The Bengals, they need to work on that offensive line. They got Riley Reef, a pretty good tackle, but they need to work on that offensive line. Eli Apple, who you're seeing here, is a very good cornerback, and definitely he's one of the biggest reasons that they've got a C+ and not a C-. But they need to ramp up that offensive line. We do have some time left, and there's a pretty deep offensive line class coming up with the draft, so that they have time to turn this around. But right now, I really feel like they haven't done enough right now to show me that their offensive line is ready to compete. The Browns get an A from me. The John Johnson signing, that was a pretty amazing deal. They got him for $11 million a year, a 3-year deal, locked him down. I really, really like that. And really, they re-signed Rashard Higgins, and really, they don't really need to do all that much, and they're ramping up that secondary. I just like what they're doing. They get an A from me. The Steelers get a B-. They re-signed Juju Smith-Schuster. They re-signed, they didn't re-sign, but they restructured Big Ben's contract so they didn't have to release him. I like what they're doing. Again, they haven't really signed too many big players, so it's not amazing. It's pretty fairly good. That's why I give it a B-. But really, they need to go out there and they need to get some help on that offensive line. Texans are going to get a B+ for me, and this is going to be a surprise for a lot of people. A lot of people feel like the Texans are having a really rough offseason, but I like what they're doing. I think they've made it pretty obvious now that they're going to be trading Deshaun Watson because they've gotten Tyrod Taylor, who I feel like is good enough to start for another year, and they got a good backup for Tyrod Taylor in Ryan Finley, who they got in a trade. They let Will Fuller walk. They've They released J.J. Watt, and I feel like they would have an A- if it wasn't for the fact that they hadn't traded Deshaun Watson yet. The draft is a little less than a month away, and they still haven't traded him, and I feel like they need to. They need to get up there. They need to trade up. They need to get at least a top 10 pick this year, and probably one more this year and a couple for the next future years. They either need to trade him away, or they shouldn't have let Will Fuller walk, and they shouldn't have released J.J. Watt, because right now it feels like letting Will Fuller walk and releasing J.J. Watt is kind of like saying, all right, we're letting our biggest player go, and we're going to go into a rebuild. But also they're keeping Deshaun Watson, which says, we have hope for next season. I just don't like it. And they also got a really good running back class now with Phillip Lindsay and Mark Ingram, which is what I was going to talk about for the Texans, but I just completely forgot to. The Colts, they get a C- from me. I don't like it. I don't like the Carson Wentz trade. They didn't spend too much going out and getting him. They didn't give up a bunch of firsts or nothing. It wasn't anything too crazy. However, I feel like he's a serious. I think they could have gotten a better quarterback than Carson Wentz. People are still looking back at 3-4 years ago, whenever he was playing like an MVP, and they're still out there and they're still saying, "Oh, well, maybe if he has a better team around him." Obviously, if he has a better team around him, he would play better. But I still feel like, just looking at him, he has played a lot worse. He's been a lot less mobile, and I feel like the Colts are just. They're kind of screwing themselves here, because they have such a good team, but it's an aging team, and they need to get a really good quarterback, a really good young quarterback, if they want to have success this year and the future. So I feel like they should have traded up, or possibly, I don't know who else they could have gotten. The Jaguars get a B-. Feels to me like they are really banking on Trevor Lawrence being a really good option. They did get Shaquille Griffin to help with that backfield, but other than that, they really haven't done too much. I feel like they obviously know that things are going to get pretty rough for the next couple of years, so I'm not too mad about it. I definitely don't think they should have gone out and spent a bunch of money, getting a bunch of people. They are in a rebuild. Trevor Lawrence is hopefully going to help them get back to relevancy in the next 2-3 years. And yeah, B-, not too bad, not too good. Titans get a C+. You look, Adam Humphries, Jonnu Smith, Corey Davis, their whole wide receiver and a lot of their receivers have kind of walked, and really they've gone out. They got Josh Reynolds, and I don't think that makes up for all that. They're losing a lot of their good players, a lot of their weapons on offense, and I think they are getting slightly worse. The Bud Dupree signing, a lot of people are hating on it a lot more than I think they should. Now, here's the deal. They overpaid for him. I don't think anyone's going to say they didn't overpay for him. 5 years, $85 million is definitely way, way, way overpaying for Bud Dupree. I don't hate it. A lot of people are calling it the worst signing of this year so far. I don't agree with that. Also, the Janoris Jenkins signing was pretty good. The Broncos, C-. Oh, man. They are – I don't know how to describe what the Broncos are doing, because they've really ramped up that secondary. Ronald Darby, Kyle Fuller, re-signing Justin Simmons. Their defense is going to be lethal. However, Phillip Lindsay, they let him walk. That whole offense – They haven't really signed. I mean, they got Mike Boone as a replacement, but other than that, they haven't signed any weapons. They haven't. I mean, they need to start ramping up that offense. They need to turn this offseason around. They need to say, all right, we've got a pretty formidable defense now. Our defense is where it should be. Our offense, though, we have a chance here. We have a really young quarterback who hasn't looked horrendous these past couple of years. We need to get him some weapons. We need to give him a chance to go out and succeed. And so far, they're not doing that this offseason. They really, really need to. That being said, it's not a D, or definitely not an F, because their secondary now is lethal. Ronald Darby was really good for Washington last year, and Kyle Fuller, a 1-year, $9.5 million deal for Kyle Fuller is a steal in my opinion. So don't hate that. However, they need to start working on that offense, and they do still have a lot of time left. Don't get me wrong, but like the Chiefs, they get an A. They've really been ramping up that offensive line. Really what they need to do. Can't talk too much about these big teams, because when you're really good, when you make the Super Bowl, when you win the Super Bowl, you can't really go out. You don't really have. I mean, you can't go out and get a bunch of really good players or something, because you already have a bunch. If that makes any sense, so they ramp up that offensive line. They're doing just about what I think they should do. And, yeah, they're just re-signing players and ramping up the offensive line. Again, the Raiders, the first D that we're going to see. They get a D+ here. I don't like it. You look at the second half of last year, and it was terrible. They were a really really bad team. If they hadn't had a really good start, they would have been 4-12, 5-11, 6-10 in that area. Those last couple of games after the Jets game, I know everybody's saying it, but that was horrendous. And now they've gone out and they've done nothing. They let Nelson Aguilar walk, and obviously now he's on the Patriots. And they went out and they signed a backup running back in Kenyon Drake, and that's all they've done. I like the Kenyon Drake signing. 2-year, $11 million is pretty good in my opinion. However, I just don't like the rest of their offseason. They haven't done anything amazing, and I give them a D+. It would have been worse if it wasn't for the fact that they haven't done a lot of pretty good defensive players, but no like superstars. Chargers gonna go up to a B+, and this is because they have a whole new coaching staff, not whole new, but they have a pretty new coaching staff. You look at last year, they were definitely way better than the record. They should have been 9-7, 10-6. They go out there, they get Justin Herbert, a new weapon, and Jared Cook, the tight end. Obviously, as you're seeing here, he's a pretty old guy. He's getting up there in age, but I think a 1-year, $6 million deal for him is pretty good. I like it. I feel like this year, if the coaching is better, if the play calling especially is better, and with Anthony Lynn out of the building, I definitely think that it will be. I feel like the Chargers are ramped up for success, and they are quietly becoming a very good team. Next up, entering the NFC, we have the Cowboys. I give them a C+ because I like the fact they got Dak Prescott back in the building. He's a very good quarterback. I feel like it's a lot less risky to take him than to go and draft somebody or possibly sign another quarterback. They overpaid for him a lot. A 4-year, $160 million deal. Dak Prescott is good. Don't get me wrong, but he should not be being paid $40 million a deal. It's not a deal, a year. Also, they have not been doing anything on that offensive line. Their offensive line needs desperate help, and right now they're ramping up the defense. And I get it, their defense needs a lot of help too, but they need to turn around, and if they can spend the rest of this offseason working on that offensive line, because right now their defense is better, but that offensive line is still horrendous. They need to ramp up that offensive line. This could easily go up to a B+, A. Next up, the Giants, A+. This is by far the most underrated offseason. Nobody's talking about how good the Giants offseason has been. This is perfect. The Giants might have the perfect offseason because right now they re-signed Leonard Williams, possibly their best player on the whole team, definitely on the defense, but possibly on the whole team. Obviously, I mean, they've got a pretty good running back there. And then they went out and they got Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, I mean, he's had a pretty bad couple of years. And a lot of people are saying, oh, you know, he hasn't had good weapons. I mean, he's had Darius Slade, but what else? They went out, they got him Kenny Golladay, they got him Kyle Rudolph. He is now set up with enough weapons to go out there and succeed. Their defense now, well, it has been. I mean, you saw last year their defense was really, really good. It was the reason that they were contending for the NFC East championship, especially later in the season. In my opinion, I think they should have gotten that championship, but their rocky start was what kind of screwed it over for them. And I just feel like they've had a pretty perfect offseason. I'm going to give them an A+. It's going to be really hard to beat what the Giants have done this offseason. I feel like right now, I mean, they have a really early draft pick too. The Giants are in a position to go 10-6, 11-5 next season. I'm not a Giants fan. I hate the Giants, personally. You'd think I'd be, biased against them, but they have had a perfect offseason in my opinion. The Eagles, D-. I understand why they're doing this. I understand they're going into a rebuild. But Carson Wentz, obviously they had to get him out of there. They had to get rid of that contract. They had to send him to some other team. But I still feel like they could have gotten more. I really think they should have put Zach Ertz and him on a deal and gotten a couple first rounders possibly in the future and like a second this year. Well, they didn't do that. They let Alshon Jeffrey walk, Deshaun Jackson walk, or they cut them. It's just really rough. And then they go out and they get Joe Flacco as a backup quarterback. I understand what they're doing. I understand that they want to build this team up around Jalen Hurts. And to do that, they have to cut everybody else and start from scratch. But still, they have gone. This is just really bad for the Eagles. Washington's getting an A from me. Would have been an A+, but I don't like the Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't hate it, but I'm not a big fan of them signing Ryan Fitzpatrick. A 1-year, I feel like they kind of slightly overpaid for him. It's not horrendous, but $10 million. is not what you should be paying for him. Now, Ryan Fitzpatrick has had a pretty good couple of years in Miami. Hasn't been absolutely spectacular, but it has been pretty formidable. Other than that, though, they've made their wide receiver group go from pretty bad to pretty good with Adam Humphries and Curtis Samuel signings, and I like the way they're bumping up that defense. They now have a pretty good wide receiver core, and Washington overall has had a really good offseason. Also, Ryan Fitzpatrick is definitely an upgrade over Alex Smith, in my opinion. But I just, it's not an A+, simply because I feel like they could have gotten better options. There were better options out there for QB. We still have a lot more left that could turn into an A+, but an A is when I'm putting Washington. The Bears get an F. This one is one of those that's going to be hard to top, being worse than, because the Bears are just, this offseason has been really bad. It would have been an F-, because yes, I did consider making them have an F-. I know what you're thinking, but F- isn't whatever. The only reason they don't have an F- is because I do like the fact that they got Allen Robinson back. I do like that. And I also like the Desmond Trufant signing. Now, we don't know how much that was for, but I definitely like that. However, letting Kyle Fuller go, and I think they did sign Desmond Trufant to replace him, but letting Kyle Fuller go, and especially seeing how little the Broncos paid for him, letting him go when he really wouldn't have cost all that much, he was might have been one of their best defensive players. I mean, it wasn't their best, but he was with Khalil Mack and stuff, but he's definitely was up there, one of their best defensive players, and they let him walk just so they can sign Andy Dalton. I would rather have Nick Foles starting. I would rather have Mitch Trubisky starting if I was a Bears fan than Andy Dalton. He didn't have a good game last year. Minnesota was his best game, and really that was because he was being carried. Zeke, when you look at the end of last year, the reason they started winning games was because Zeke turned it around and he started playing really well at the end of the season. Andy Dalton didn't have a good game last year. Maybe when he came in against the Giants, but really, I mean, the Bears, horrible offseason. It isn't like one of those things where they can't control it, where, it was out of their control. They couldn't possibly, this was all there. This was all the organization screwing them over. Lions get a C. I don't know. They haven't done too much crazy stuff, but I feel like they got a downgrading quarterback with Jared Goff. Now, I feel like they got better value in the future with picks and kind of stuff, but not too much to talk about here. They got a C. It's pretty average. Packers get a B+. I feel like they've had a really good offseason. They re-signed Aaron Jones, and, that's really all they've done. They haven't done anything bad, but also, what could they do? You look at last year, they had a really good season. You couldn't really see too many faults. I don't know. I feel like maybe you could have gotten some defensive linemen to help out that front seven, which did struggle last year, but that's about it. Vikings are going to get a C for me. Again, another team that didn't do much. They got Patrick Peterson to help out that defense, which was horrendous last year. But other than that, I feel like they really need to go out there and they need to make a lot of changes. I feel like this organization thinks last year was a fluke because they had good seasons before then, and then last year was kind of catastrophic. I think they're hoping that maybe with an off season that hopefully is not all virtual, they can possibly go back to what they were a couple of years ago. So they're not doing too much. So they get a C for me. They really need to start. I feel like they need to start ramping up that defense, and Patrick Peterson is just a start. Falcons are going to get a B-. I like the fact they're not going crazy signing a bunch of players because they're a lot better than their record than they have been for the past couple of years. They're a pretty good offense already, and they go out and they get Mike Davis, who was a really good running back for the Panthers last year, and will be a pretty good backup for Todd Gurley. And they also got Fabian Moreau, who was pretty good for Washington, and I feel like is going to help with that defense a lot. So it's a B-, but I don't really feel like they should have gone out and spent a lot of money, so I like what the Falcons are doing. I clicked. Is it not going to go? There we go. Panthers get a C- for me. They let Curtis Samuel go. They still haven't gotten a replacement for Teddy Bridgewater, which they are going to. It's basically, I feel like they're really banking on getting I feel like they're really, really kind of banking their whole offseason, their whole future on getting Deshaun Watson here. And I feel like a lot of other teams are going to be making plays at him too. I'm pretty scared that they're going to be sending Christian McCaffrey to the Texans for Deshaun Watson, which I don't know how I feel about that, but they got Denzel Perryman, who's a pretty good linebacker. They got David Moore, a pretty good wide receiver. But it's just the stuff that they haven't done, and the fact that they let Curtis Samuel go. I don't like it. Saints get a D+, and this is one of those teams that you can legitimately say it's not their fault, because you look at their cap situation. Starting out, it was one of the worst. Now they've kind of built it back up, and it's still really bad. Don't get me wrong. They still have a really bad money situation, and they can't really sign anybody. However, it is better than it was. So really, this offseason, a lot's happened. Their starting quarterback retired, and they've cut half of the team. They've just cut players. They're restructuring everybody's contracts, and they've gotten much worse doing so. Now, Jameis Winston, if they had Jameis Winston was one of the best backups last year. Now, he didn't start very many games, but he didn't start any games. He threw one pass, but looking at the rest of the league, I feel like he was definitely one of the best backups, and I feel like he will be a pretty good starting quarterback. If he learned from Drew Brees and if his decision making has gotten better and his accuracy is better, Jameis Winston could be the Saints could definitely make the playoffs again. Who knows? D+, it's gotten so much worse. The Buccaneers get an A+ for me. I'm not going to go as far as a lot of people are doing. A lot of people are saying, oh, the Buccaneers have had the best offseason of any team. I don't think so. I still think that title goes to the Giants now. It could change depending on who we look up next, but for all I know, the Cardinals have the best, but all they've done is they re-sign a bunch of people, and that's what they need to do. They need to go out, and they needed to go out and sign a bunch of people, and that's what they did. They gave Tom Brady an extension. Chris Godwin received the franchise tag. Leonard Fournette got a 1-year deal. Rob Gronkowski, 1-year deal. Like a long list of players. It's all just re-sign. They're going to be just about the same team next year. Not to mention they're probably going to draft some people, obviously. They're going to get better. I like what they're doing. It's an A+ for me. The only thing I could see them doing that could make it even better is they need to get a successor for Tom Brady. Because you look, the man, I know he's the ageless wonder, and I know that he's probably going to be playing for the 3. He's probably going to be playing until he's 85, and everyone's going to think I'm stupid. But they need to get a young quarterback to back him up. Now, the draft is the perfect place to do that if you don't have a 32nd pick. So I feel like they should, and I would have said should have, but they definitely still can, get a young backup for Tom Brady that can take over when he eventually retires in the next 2-3 years. Next up, Cardinals get an A for me. They lost Larry Fitzgerald, replaced him with A.J. Green, and they added J.J. Watt. Pretty good offseason. The Cardinals have gotten a lot better. Not too much bad to say. Let's move on. The Rams get an A here. I like the Matthew Stafford trade. I like the fact Matthew Stafford, in my opinion, is 100% an upgrade from Jared Goff. I feel like they're going to be a lot better, obviously, with Matthew Stafford than Jared Goff. But also, they went out and they got him a weapon in Deshaun Jackson. This is also going to help. The Rams are looking like that they're getting even better. And I feel like it's not obviously perfect. They haven't done too much crazy stuff this offseason, only signing 3 people in total. But yeah, I feel like the Rams get an A for me. And second last team, we have the 49ers. We're getting a B+ from me. They got Trent Williams back. A huge deal, $6 million, not $6 million, 6-year, $138 million contract. I like it. I feel like they're not overpaying from him. He was one of the best offensive linemen on Washington. He was one of the best offensive linemen on the 49ers last year. The 49ers, they've gone out. They haven't really signed too many people. All right, that's why it's a B+. But they re-signed Trent Williams. That's really all they need to do, because last year they were really bad because of all the injuries and all the obviously bad situation that they've been in. And I feel like now they've got a really low draft pick, which we're going to talk about in a second. But, sorry, I forgot to talk about. They actually traded up, and now they have the 3rd pick in the draft. They traded. Remember I was talking about the Dolphins, how they traded down? They traded with the Dolphins. Now the 49ers have the 3rd pick in the draft. If they go out, they get Jamar Chase. They get a really good player like that on this team. 49ers are going to be back to Super Bowl form next year. I'm calling it right now. Now, they could screw it up, obviously. They could do something stupid, but I feel like right now they're having a really good offseason. And last one, the Seahawks, C+. They're not signing too many people when I feel like they should be. They should be getting young player after young player for that defense. I feel like they need to go out and they need to get a really – and the reason I say young is because their defense is aging, and it's aging. This whole team is aging. I feel like they've been really good for the past like 10 years. They've stayed relevant. I mean, they made a couple Super Bowls, and they've been making the playoffs. I mean, like one and done. Maybe they'll win one. They need to get this, because right now, obviously, with any team's goal, you want to get good and you want to stay good forever. And the Seahawks have done a really good job of that. They haven't been insanely elite in a while, but they've been very good. They've stayed relevant. They've kept on winning. They've had winning records for a while now. They need to go out and they need to get some young playmakers on that defense. I like the fact that they got Chris Carson back. I like the fact that they got Carlos Dunlap back. I also like the fact that they haven't traded Russell Wilson. I feel like that'd be stupid. I know that the Bears tried to give them, I think it was 3 first-rounders, a second, and 2 starters for Russell Wilson. Nah. If I was the Seahawks, I would keep him unless someone like decided to give me all their first-round picks for the next 5 years, and they had like 15. But the Seahawks get a C+ for me, and that's not really a bad thing. They just haven't improved too much this offseason, and they need to get a lot of young playmakers on that defense. So that is the last team we had to talk about. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it wasn't too long. Please subscribe, like the video. I try to post these pretty often. Let me know if you have any video ideas, because I want to post more videos like this. I used to post a bunch of videos showing my face and all that, but y'all didn't like that. So I'm going to try to post more videos like this. Please subscribe, like the video, like I already said. Comment any video ideas. Let me know what you thought about your team. Let me know what you would rank all these teams. Who do you think had the best offseason, worst offseason? For me, the best offseason obviously is the Giants. Not obviously, but I think it's a Giants. Close second being the Buccaneers, and the worst offseason by far was the Bears. Second worst, Eagles. See ya.